Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar. In this webinar, webinar 11, we're actually going to be going through using the latest PAT technology. Like anything in a fast-paced moving world, things happen, things speed up. So we're going to be looking to take you through what's available now in the PAT technology world and how can this be of assistance to you. So initially, to start off with, then we're going to look at old practice versus new. How compliance has moved and changed over the years. So looking at a simple sort of diagram here, flowchart thing here, PAT testing's always been the same. Starting up in the top right hand corner, you're starting off the process with compiling an asset register. What equipment have you got? Where is it? Once you've compiled that register, you then got to determine the environment, the user, the construction type, class 1, class 2, is it an IT environment, is it in an industrial, including commercial kitchens? Now typically in the old ways of working, this was all very much a manual process. When you've gone around and you've compiled your asset register and you've determined the equipment types and environments, you then carry out the risk assessment. So to carry out the risk assessment, it would be determine your frequencies of test and obviously log that the assets are there. And off the back of that, you've then got your risk assessed asset. Now again, looking at the older ways, it was very common practice, as you can see by the calendar on the right hand side, that everything has to annually, every 12 months. Laborious, could be over complicating, over compliance. So again, that was the old ways. Let's do it every 12 months. You then move around and you obviously, once you've got round the stage of knowing equipment, what you've got and what the frequencies of tests are, you then obviously, the important part is performing the test and inspection itself. And again, these were typically in the past done with big cumbersome mains tethered PAT testers, very slow, very laborious. And again, if you're then recording all your results, again, it's a manual process. A lot of paperwork if you haven't got a downloadable tester. Labelling up your assets, handwriting all your labels out as you go along, and then, more importantly as well, maintaining all your records. How many of you have sort of files and files and files of paperwork just taking up room and a bit unnecessary? So that sort of gives you a quick snapshot there of, what PAT testing used to be. Moving on to the new ways of testing now. Compiling your asset register, determining your environment, user type, construction, carrying out your risk assessments, defining frequencies of test, all done in the machine. All available through, give you an example, the Apollo series of PAT testers there. It's all automated, no paperwork. A lot of decision making process as well is through the PAT tester. And then move around to the performing the inspection and tests, recording your results. Again, all in the one instrument. The same instrument and the same unit that you're doing all of your asset registering and your risk assessments and things like that for as well. No additional devices, no additional software. Labelling up your assets. Bluetooth label printers are available now. 1D scanning, QR code scanning for your 2D barcodes. Why sit there and write out labels? Why spend the evening before writing out 1,000 labels ready for the next day? Bluetooth battery operated label printers, looks professional, speeds up the process no end. And then maintaining records. Is there any need for all these files? Is there any need for log tick sheets, for Excel spreadsheets to be filled out? No, a simple program to use with no manual interaction. Your testers will just download for you. So, reasons to change then from old systems to new systems. Much faster testing. Less paperwork, which obviously everybody likes. Full test history for traceability, very important. Renumbering assets every year, only keeping records of the last test you've done. It's not ideal. You really need to keep your full test history. What better way to do that than within a nice, simple database software package? Fewer errors. Handwriting things down. We all know that if you're on item number 100 for the day, you're prone to errors. You could be writing the wrong boxes. Automated reporting. Once it's in the database, at a click of a button, Just get your report. You can issue concise reports, asset register, detailed results. You can even do checklists to tell you what's due for retesting. Risk-based test frequencies. Again, it's all automated in with the new hardware. Improved work scheduling. You know, you don't want to be told by a customer or told by a department or a colleague that their pat testing is due. Pre-trigger. You find out 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, a week, whatever you need it to be, prior to work being carried out. And schedule in, forward plan. And then obviously, with software programs, it gives you the great facility of being able to back up your data. Paperwork can be lost, it can be moved, thrown away. There's nothing better than a good traditional backup on your database. So, part 2 on this now, we're going to look at the modern record keeping. So here we've actually used sort of pros and cons. You know, we're looking through the ages of pat testing here. So we'll be fair and we'll look at the pros as well as the cons. So many years ago when first pat testing come about, obviously everything was pen and paper. What a good thing about pen and paper? It's cheap. So it doesn't cost a lot for a pen and paper. It's reliable. We've all used it for years. We know it's reliable. It's available to all, you know. Pen and paper is available to everyone, and you don't need any training. So again, you know, some pros to pen and paper. Weighing that up again now with the cons. Pen and paper is very slow and laborious. You have no backup. Again, so if it's lost, mislaid, moved, it's gone. It does kill trees. Everyone wants to be environmentally friendly nowadays. You know, why have rakes and rakefuls of files and folders everywhere? And if your handwriting's anything like mine, or you've been doing it all day, your handwriting can get a bit lazy, can look a bit unprofessional. So moving away, the next progressive stage there was then onto spreadsheets, the next best thing. So again, spreadsheets, looking at the pros, very cost effective. You know, everybody's got Excel, you know, so it's there, it's ready to use. You can back it up, it's electronic, it's on a system, you can save your spreadsheet files, you can store them on a network and get them back up. Easily available, let's say, everyone's got it. And yeah, typically you've got better report options. You know, you can use Excel in a variety of ways to produce a report, produce tables, graphs, which is obviously an improvement on a pen and paper system. So, the cons of it all then, the admin cost of it. So again, you know, it's running the software, it's enabling, you've always got the latest version, it's asking your IT department to come and install it, or you know, give you the necessary tools to use it. But also from an admin cost side as well, we've got to consider the administration cost of actually inputting all the data. Okay, so again, you know, it's, although it looks nice and it's an electronic version, you've still got to sit down there and type your results. And what that typically means on spreadsheets as well is that your job duplicating. Because you'd go out with your pat tester and you write your results down as you go along, and then you'd come back and sit down and type them all in. You're doing it twice. You may take your laptop around with you when you're doing it, but it's more to carry. No data comms. You can't download a tester straight into it. You can't download data straight into it. It is still a manual entry system. It can be prone to errors. A slip of the finger on the keypad or putting it in the wrong cell. You know, it is prone to errors and is editable. You know, if you send somebody a spreadsheet, or send a customer or a department a CSV spreadsheet, of course they can go in and edit any data they want. Then the next progression up from spreadsheets, then you get to your sort of dedicated pat testing software. In this instance, obviously our PatGuard 3 software. So, what are the pros to having software? Well, PatGuard and Pat software is designed for pat testing. It does what it says on the tin. You know, it's going to give you everything you need. It has the data comms. All your data can be downloaded straight into the instrument. There's no need for job duplication or manual entry. You get a host of professional reports to issue to clients or departments. And of course, the data can be backed up. What are the cons to running the software? Like any software you use, there is a cost associated with the software. But again, you weigh that up against the cost of manual entry or writing on pen and paper. It soon pays itself back. Training will be required. Like anything, using it for the first time, you may need to be run through the process of how to use it. I suppose from any software point of view, flexibility can be an issue. Obviously, it is designed for Pat. When you're doing things on pen and paper and you're doing things on spreadsheet, you can do it your way. With software, you're restricted to what it can do. But if you're using it for Pat, and that's what it's designed for, not going to cause you any problems. And then one last thing, I suppose, is relies on IT. Obviously, with it being a software program, if you want it on a network because you want it to be backed up, then obviously you're going to need to get your IT department involved, or subcontract if you subcontract out your IT to get it all installed up and ready to use. So that just gives you a bit of flavour on sort of the going through the ages of Pat testing. So the modern reporting options then, there are a wide range of reports available, so these can be easily customised. You can add logos and details for your company or customer. You can change report colours, you can add e-signatures, pictures of faults can be included. So a really professional report. If you're using them, say for instance with our Apollo 5 or 600 plus testers, you do have the facility to report on non-electrical items. So if you're carrying out PPM inspections on things like Legionella or ladder checks, or fire door inspection, vehicle checks, anything like that, it becomes an asset software rather than just a Pat testing software. And within that we have our Time Manager. Time Manager is a great analysis tool for seeing how long testing is taking. Are there any certain environments that's slow compared to other environments? Are there particular areas that we could speed up the process? So it also analyses the data as well as produces and presents the data. So again, another benefit to your modern record keeping. And then with modern record keeping then, and using the latest technology, you then get into customization of testers. So testers can and will be very rigid on older versions. They do what they do. But I mean, just to give you some examples here on the Apollo, you can set up user permissions. So auto power down sort of thing. Every 5 to 10 minutes, the longer you have it, it's not going to shut off when you're doing your visual on your next test. The power on screen, do you want it to be on main menu and then you click a few buttons to get to your Pat testing, or do you want it to dive straight into Pat testing so you're ready to go? So there are various user permissions you can have. Then we go into the more detailed user permissions. There are facilities that you can add, activate, deactivate for specific users. So as an administration person, as we're showing here on the screen, you can have access to everything. But if you want to, say for instance, lock out the Bluetooth or lock out the camera for a particular user or a particular customer, because their sites maybe not allow Bluetooth or camera devices. Do you want the engineers to be able to adjust date and time, or even delete results? So there's certain settings and missions you can do to keep your Pat testing safe, to keep everybody the same, and at the same time, really customize it for the way that you would like it to work. You've got user configurable test sequences. So again, you're not in a situation where you're stuck with a Pat tester where it does what it does and that's how you've got to use it. Now, with all of our downloadable Pat testers, we cover everything we can think of in all scenarios for all electrical appliances. But your user configurable test sequences enable you to name a test sequence whatever you want it to be, do whatever tests you want it to do. So you can have it doing multiple earth bond and polarity checks if you're doing extension leads. You can have it doing multiple RCD tests if you're in the event and broadcast industry and looking to do your distros. You could have a variety of lead lengths, for calculating extra long resistance. So again, it's just configuring it to the way you want it to work, not to the way the tester works. So again, you can tweak Pat settings. So just to give you an example here, we've got the increment facility. What's worse than going on site on a new job, or if you're in-house and you're testing for the first time, having to type in numbers at the beginning of every test? We'll start the increment off and just let the Pat tester do the rest. On test failure, you don't want to save as a fail. It might be that you've connected to an earth part of the appliance that's not earthed. Looking for an earth part of the appliance that's not earthed. Well, do you want it to save it, go in, delete it in the memory, then start again? Nah. Set up the fail menu. Yeah, you can say generally that's a fail. Yep, I want to save that, or no, I'm going to carry on and I want to restart the test and find an earth point. After test, do you want it to, we've got an example here as new test, straight away it's ready for the next test, or print label. If you are using the label printing systems, it'll print your nice little label at the end of every test, nice and easy. So again, it's just tweaking settings to work for you. You can then add comments at the end of the test. So typically your comments line 1 would be your asset description. But if you want to log make, model, serial number, if you want to have repairs or anything like that logged, again, you can tweak what sort of data you want to capture. Again, prompting the user of the pat tester to fill that information in. So again, tweak it the way you would like it to work. Then we get into sort of the consumable side with the pat testers. Again, we touched earlier on the process of old versus new, and what we touched on there was the label printing and the barcoding. So if we now look at the label printing and the barcoding, very similar to data capture, we're going to look at the old methods and the new methods. And again, we're going to be fair, we're going to look at the pros and the cons. So handwritten records, what are the pros? It's cheap. Again, it's reliable. There's a whole range available. You're not restricted to one particular thing. And there's no hardware needed. So again, good pros to handwritten records. What are the cons? Well, it's handwritten. Again, it's laborious. It's slow. Errors. You do make errors when things are handwritten. Quite a strong word there at the bottom, but very true. Fraud. Handwritten records. Anybody can go on site and stick a label on something, can, write down a record. Who's to say they've not done it? So again, there's that security side, there's that comfort side, and with more advanced equipment, knowing the right job's being done and the testing's being carried out. So we look at the sort of labelling systems for the sort of newer technology now, using printers and scanners. Much quicker for retesting. With a QR code, or you upload data and read a 1D barcode, the speed of retesting is massive improvements. All your data entry and your data capture and your type of appliance and site and locations, you're not doing that every year, handwriting the same stuff down every time you retest it. There's no errors. If you've got a label printed and it's got a barcode and it's in the instrument, you scan a barcode. There can't be any errors. Obviously, printing nice printed labels that are consistent across all the appliance you're testing looks professional. We know when you're handwriting labels out that, when you're on appliance number 100 for the day, your arms are aching, you're tired, your handwriting can look a bit wobbly, shall we say. And obviously the reprinting. If the label's damaged or you've written with a handwritten label, you've written the wrong details, you've got to start again. You can apply labels back, with a label printer. If it has been damaged, or you want to apply 2 labels on a particularly large bit of equipment, you can just reprint. You haven't got to keep handwriting stuff out. So what are the cons then that come along with printers and scanners? Obviously there's a cost associated with it. If it's not as cheap as a pen and paper. It does rely on hardware. You need the printer and you need the scanner. It's not hardware free. You are limited to specific label options, although with the Test and Tag Pro and Elite printers that we have various sizes and we have various formats of label that you can use, but you still are limited to what's available. And they're not available for all testers. So some of the older historic testers that have now been superseded, and even testers that don't have the memory in that, you have to have the right equipment to work with the right accessories. So the modern barcoding systems now, gone are the days where you've got the old CCD barcode scanners with a serial connector, cables going everywhere. We now have Bluetooth and battery operated barcode scanners. You do have CCD scanners that are available for some of the older testers, and the 1D laser scanners, and then we also have the barcode imagers now, which will do the 1D and QR barcoding systems. And we have the facility with the new Seaward's QR codes. So again, all the test data, all the appliance data for retesting is stored within the QR code. You can go out with the completely empty testers, read the QR code, and it's ready to test. And along with that, we have actually produced the QR Data Viewer app. Now, your QR Data Viewer app enables anybody on iOS or Android to download our free app, and they can actually go around and scan the QR barcodes and see that equipment's in date. They can see who it's tested by, what test program was carried out, the information for that appliance. But it also gives you the facility to better asset manage. There is the facility within the app to send an email. So if you are disposing of a bit of equipment, or if you are moving an office and a number of items are being moved from one location to another, you can simply scan the barcode and send an email and notify the facilities team or your pat testing colleague or your pat testing contractor. And that's available free. So part 5 then that we're looking at here is the managing data on the move. You know, it is very common for engineers to be remote, and yeah, the last thing you want is downtime where they're having to come back and do downloads. So one thing that was very considered very highly and up the chain when looking at the Apollo Pat testers is the data transfer side. So again, when you're out on the move with the Apollo 500 and 600 as an example there, you can upload and download data. So upload from your PC to your pat tester for your retesting, and you're downloading from your pat tester to your PC to the PatGuard program when you've completed your testing. So with data on the move then, what this basically means now is that you can get information back to the office. With a smart device, with an Android or iOS, if it's with the Apollo 600 and the memory stick, is you can get data back on the field. If you've got engineers remotely, they can sit in their van or their car at the end of the day, simply connect their tester to their mobile device and send the download file, the pat data, back to base. What does that mean back at base? Faster reporting, and more importantly, quicker invoicing if you're a contractor. So your connectivity options, you have got USB cables. The USB on the go is now compatible on the Apollo testers, and you have the facility to Bluetooth pair to your mobile device. And one other thing that we looked at and considered and introduced was the dynamic file names. If you've got a number of engineers all sending data back at the end of each day, but the file's called the same, what's going to happen? You know, the poor person back in the office that's receiving these emails ready to process the data is going to end up with all files named the same. And every time they try and save it somewhere, ready to process in PatGuard, it's going to say this file already exists. So it's nice to know who's sending what back. So the dynamic file name systems will now actually default the save file to the user of the instrument, the serial number, and a combination of the date and time. So again, every time a file comes back, there's no risk of it overwriting or getting lost within another download file. So really that sort of wraps up the webinar now. Thank you for joining us. One bit I do want to touch on here is just obviously the social media side. These webinars we do hold live as well, and the live webinars give you the opportunity to ask questions to the presenter live and really more interactive. Any events that we're doing, like our hands-on morning pat workshops or any exhibitions that we may be attending, are all advertised through social media. And we also like to keep the industry up to date with industry news and things like that. Support videos are all available through the YouTube channel, and frequently asked question pat videos. So we really do put a lot of time and effort into the social media channel. So if anything, I could all ask if you please do follow us on social media. And again, thank you for attending the webinar.